Here we are, ladies. We're going to work on our November background part, and make sure you've got out your Tim Holtz splatter brush and your white paint, and then also your chocolate bronze gilding polish. I've decided to use the template that is in set 46. I use this one, I believe, for September, and I'm going to use this one here for November. So let's start with our gilding polish like we have all year. And you can hear Bax, I think, underneath me chewing on a toy. Get out of here, buddy. We're gonna do a little bit of the gilding polish about right here, and then along the bottom of the picture, and then a little bit in this side over here. So that's where I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start with my gilding polish. I'm gonna put my template down where I want it. Prime your brush. I know a lot of people I've talked to about this priming of the brush. When you do this, you should make sure the whole bottom surface is covered with the gilding polish. Wipe both sides, change your directions, and then wipe off all your excess so that it's smooth. But it still needs to be primed where you've thoroughly made sure the gilding polish is on the sponge. So hold your gilding polish in place. Load your sponge if you need a little bit more. Okay, I'm gonna pick that up. Perfect. I'm gonna set it over here. Put more on my sponge. Careful how you're picking it up. Maybe I'll put it this way. All right, I'm gonna put a little bit. Oh, I like these flowers, so I'm not gonna mess with those. I'm gonna add a little bit more right here. Perfect. And I think I'm good on this side. I'm gonna set my template down, add it to my left-hand page. That's a fun template. I like this crazy design. Do it a little bit off the page there. And then that's good. Let's pull out the paint just so we kind of see everything all together. So make sure you put up a splatter shield. Load up your paint with the, load up your, oh boy, I just lost my train of thought. Load up your Tim Holtz splatter brush with your paint. Mine looks a little thick. I'm gonna have to add a little bit of water there. I'm down to the last of my paint. I need to do a refill, I believe. Oh, but that looks fun. Oh my goodness, do you know what I didn't do? I didn't cover up my mats. So let's do that before I make a huge mess and then get very sad. So I'm pretty much done with this side, but I want to add a little there. So let me get this stuff out of the way. Cover up my mats. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. That looks good. Load up my splatter brush, give it a few splatters. That's good. Let's get rid of these and set this one aside to dry and do our flowers. So let's grab layout revision for November, which I'm just obsessed with these 49 in Market papers. Every single month they just do a better and better job at their papers, and I love them. So let's cover up my photos before I make a huge mess. We don't have a ton of space to actually do our splatter and all that. It's all going to be in the center here. So there we go. That looks good. Covered up pretty well. Grab my template, throw it on there. I think I'm going to do it pretty heavy on this one. All right. Hold your sponge in place. Normally I pick up more, but I think I'm good here since I'm doing such a big portion. Yeah, that looks good. So let's do a little bit off. I know some people get really worried because they've had that circle shape or they've got, you know, the straight edges. I'm not worried about that. We have so much going on with these layouts that I just don't feel like that really matters. So same thing. Do this side. And that is it for that. Grab the white paint. We've got 2 more layouts left. We're gonna do a front and a back for this calendar page. And then we're also going to do the December, which, oh, I'm super excited about the papers for December. We're gonna do a blue Christmas, which is pretty exciting. I've never done a calendar with a blue Christmas, so I think that'll be lots of fun. And this paper is just spectacular. Okay, that's it, guys. As you can see, my paint's a little thick today. I probably should have added a little bit of water before I started, but no fuss, no muss. It still looks good, and I'll wait for this to dry while I'm doing my flowers. We're gonna work on our November flowers. Make sure you have out your chalk, and you should also have Q-tips, cotton balls, your Zig Writer, white paint, and your yellow stickles, and I prefer a toothpick for some of the things that I'm doing for the white. So let's grab all of those out, and then we're gonna get started on our very first big flower. There's a lot of pieces to this one, so whenever I'm doing something like this, I always start with my biggest piece, and I work my way in. So that's what we're gonna do here. Get your Zig Writer out, and we're gonna start with the thin end. We're just gonna trace and do dots wherever we stop and start. And then each petal is gonna have a little V like that, and then a little bit of dotting. So let's go ahead and do that to the rest of them. There's lots of layers on this flower, so a lot of this will not be seen, so don't go too heavy down below. Try to hold your pen straight up and down. All right, and I'm gonna save my large dots until I do the whole completed flower together. So let's set that aside. Grab our next biggest piece. And then thin side. Do the little V's. With dotting. Grab your next one. This flower has 6 red layers to it, so we're going to get all of those done. Okay, 2 more. All right, this is our last piece, the one that you're going to see for this red flower. Okay, and then last piece of the red flower, but we're going to do the yellow center. So on this one, all we're going to do is draw a line on each one of the spikes. If I can get it on there. We'll do a little center with our dotting. Okay, that's good for right now. So let's go ahead and assemble this guy, which really, do I not have adhesive out? The one thing that's most important. Oh, I do, sorry. All right, so I've got my dot adhesive out, and I'm gonna start with this biggest piece, put a little bit of adhesive on the back side, and then I did line up the little hole that's here. So we can kind of keep lining that up. And you can, you know, be more meticulous with making sure they're you know, wherever there's like a void, you put the petal sticking out that way. So that's, just did a little bit of a turn to kind of make sure that happened. So same thing, I'm going to put adhesive, I'm going to find the center, and then kind of wiggle my flower around until I've got it on the opposite spots. All right, that's good. Put the little guy. And he's got quite the small hole, so no big deal. And then we've got our yellow center. And that looks great. All right, now with this flower, we're gonna go back and we're gonna do our large dots. So I did a large dot on each one of the yellow. Perfect. And then I did some, of course, on the inside. And then I went back and I just highlighted some of the areas. Remember to skip around. You can always pick up a petal if you want to add some underneath, because we're going to be folding those petals up a little bit. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I'm satisfied with where all my bumps and dots and things are. So from here, we're just gonna set this one aside. We're gonna do, I think we'll do all of our chalking once we've kind of got it all together, each piece, because there's lots of layers to this one. So let's now start with the green leaves, which are these 2 pieces here, okay? We're gonna take this one, we're gonna glue it on there. Oh, I should be gluing on my stuff that's not sticky that I love. Okay. So just put some adhesive on it. Line it up with the point. And if you have a little overhang, mine have that. I'm not worried about it. I think it just gives it another layer of dimension, but it does fit on there perfectly if you want it to. So for this one here, doing the pen part, we're going to go around the outer edge. Wherever we stop, we're going to add a few dots. And then I actually blacken the stems. I don't know why I like to do that, but I do. Okay, so that's the outside. Now we're going to do the inside. So we're going to do dots heavy on one side. You can pick the bottom or the top. I think when I flip mine around, I seem to do them opposite. So one side heavy dotting, and then we'll go back and just kind of draw those lines in. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flip it around though. I'm going to do the dotting again. This one's at the top now. Doesn't really matter. It's just something about this that gives dimension, depth, adds more interest to the pieces than just leaving them flat paper. And then go back, draw in. And large dots. Perfect. All right, love that. Now I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to grab another piece because we have a lot of them to do. So let's start with our leaf. This one just needs a lot of lines on it, but you know, and you know what? I forgot about this one. I'm going to go back to the red flower for 1 second because I added these little like tag marks just going down from the outer edges, and I feel like it adds a lot to the flower, like it's got a crease or a ripple. So let's just add a few lines going in. Probably best to skip around on this one too. It's just a good rule of thumb. Don't start in one spot and keep going because you'll just look too symmetrical. So now we're going to do that to our leaf. So for this one, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do an outer edge. Oops, let me get that back in the center of the picture. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to darken that stem. Leaves are probably one of my favorite things, like fall colored leaves to chalk. I just love it. You could just play with the chalk forever and get different colors and make it look like the leaves are actually turning, which are what we're going to do. Okay. All right, so I've got my outer edge done. Now we have to go in. Everywhere there's like a little spike, you're going to draw a line, but I always like to start in my center. I don't like it symmetrical straight down. Make sure it's got a little bit of a curve. And then you're going to pull in your other lines. Try not to do them so that they're even and meeting up. And then for this one, it's going to be a big one. And then we're going to pull into this line. And the same thing here. Let's do a big one. We'll pull in. Do a little one out. Okay, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do some smaller little lines close to the veining. And then we'll do some dotting. Do a few on the edges coming in. All right, that looks good. And let's go ahead and now do our small dots. I always like a lot of the dots like up through the spine of the leaf. But make sure you know, skip around. It's super important. I see a lot of people doing these and they just heavy hand it in one spot. And my hands hurt me all the time now. Just doing these dots for a demo, my hands are killing me. A leaf and 2 flowers in and my hands hurt. All right, so large dots. Maybe that's why I like the large dots so much. They're easy to do and they cover more space. Skip it around. All right, love it. Let's set that one to the side and grab our next piece. So this little seed pod right here has 2 pieces, okay? So with that, we're just gonna glue it together before we get started. Let's see, let me do a little adjusting. That's good, right there. All right, let's get rid of this piece of paper. I've been working on a folding table for almost 2 years now, and I just ordered a new table and new shelving units, everything. My office is gonna be totally brand new. So we're gonna start with this one by getting that little hair off there before it makes me crazy. We're gonna large dot this flower shape. We're not covering it 100%. We're gonna leave like a little opening in the middle, but it's got a little tiny flower shape. And we're just gonna large dot it like that. We're gonna large dot our bottom and then cover the stem. Let me grab a clean piece of paper here. And now we're gonna go back and do our other drawings. So we're just gonna outline the very dark brown, try to stay on it, not fall off like I just did. And then we're gonna do some inside lines, short ones, long ones. And that is great. Now with this, we're gonna go back and do some small dotting. And then of course, the large dots. I might be needing a new pen. I've been using this one for this class for over 11 months and it looks like it's a little dry on that one end. Okay, so there is our seed pad. We're gonna be done with that, set it aside. And let's get our orange flower that has 3 pieces of orange and then 1 of this burgundy little red piece there. So this one's kind of simple. We're just gonna trace around each one of these edges. Oh, a little neater than I just did. So trace around. I hold my pen at a weird angle trying to not get my hand in the way, which isn't so easy for me. So all right, and then on this one, I did 2 little lines coming up the middle. And then that's it. Next one, we're gonna do pretty much the same thing, but 1 line up the middle. And I did very little dotting on these. 1 line up the middle. Let's turn it. Do a little bit of dotting. Set that aside. Now this one, all I did was draw a line or two up the center. All right, let's get those glued together because it's so hard to draw on something that small if it's not in place. So let's get these guys together. And then try to put it offset so that these are where the V's are in between the other flowers. Same thing for the small one. And then let's get this little guy on there. Let's make sure I've got the right side, the texture side. There we go. Not that it matters with this tiny 1/4 inch circle, but it matters to me. Okay. Let's do a little circle around it, some dotting, and then we're going to go back and we're do our big dots. And this is very heavy coming off of that burgundy brown color. And you're working your way out just a little bit. And then some of the edges. And that is it. That's great. Set that aside, 2 more pieces, and then we can go to our chalking and assembling and white paint and glitter. So here we've got a flourish with a leaf. We're going to draw a line down the center, and then we're going to go around the outer edge, just like we did with the orange leaf. And then we're going to do the same thing with our V'ing. We're going to come to those points. Wherever there's a little bump or a point, we're going to draw a little line to it. Perfect. And then go back and add our small dots. And then for this part of it, we are really just going to outline the outer edge and do dots wherever you stop. And this is really thin, so I'm not going to try to get 2 lines in there. I'm just going to use the one and then come back. Okay, go back with your big dots, heavy on the spine. And that's good for me. Next is our small, little tiny. We're going to do the leaves first. Draw our lines. They're so small, just real quick. 1 line there. Most of these are going to be tucked in, so you don't see much of the bottom. They're poking out behind the flowers. And that was a nice straight line. It's too small, so I'm not going to bother. Pull it through the middle. Do your V's. Outline. Dot, dot, dot. Scrapbook tree Morse code. All right, big dots. Excellent. So let's set that aside and let's start with our chalk on these pieces. We're done with the pen. We can put that away. And We're gonna start with the red flower. So let's pull that out. Now on the red flower, I actually started with red, and depending on your color of red, it doesn't really show up much. So I'll just kind of show you real quick. And then I quickly went back with black because black on these flowers is one of my favorite colors. So I went with red and I was kind of doing these insides, but when I wiped it off, you can't even tell I did anything. So after that, I went with my black. I did around the outer edges. I picked up some of the petals. Not all over on the edges, just kind of where my dotting is. You're bringing in that shading. You can pick up, get some more dimension because we are going to fluff these up a little bit. Perfect. All right, clean that off. That looks great. It's got some dark spots here and there. Just clean it off with your cotton ball. And then for the inside here, I just did some brighter orange. Kind of like dotted each little stem or stamen, I think they're called. I know people have told me at the store. I think Brenda Burgess told me it, and here I am. I think they're called. So that's all set. Done with chalk. Set that aside. The leaf, probably the most fun one to do. We're gonna get our cotton balls. We're gonna do brighter oranges and yellows. You're just going to take your chalk, okay, and just rub your cotton ball right in it. That's a lot of times how I do the black. So that looks good there. I'm gonna grab a little bit of green. I'm gonna do those edges so that it's darker. I just love leaves done this way. And then I think I'm gonna grab a little bit of red and do heavy on one side. That looks great. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so once you've got enough color and a little bit of shading throughout, set it aside. We're gonna grab this one. And if you have a limey color green, we're gonna put that right down the middle. So my limey green is all broken up. I use it a lot. So let me pick some up here. You're gonna rub it right on the middle because then it gets in those little crevices, which I like. Perfect. And then I'm gonna come back with black. I'm gonna do a little bit of the edging just with my cotton ball. And that's gonna be it for this one. This guy here, all I used was black. I made the chalking super simple on this. Just did a little bit and a little bit until it looked like I had some shading in there. Perfect. The orange flower, all I did was the center edges. I took my Q-tip, which let me grab one out here. Did a little bit of yellow or bright orange and just kind of went around and then cleaned it off with my black. It's November, everything's a little darker. I feel it is anyways. Here, I did the same thing. I took a little bit of orange and I only put it on the leaves. And then I went back with black. And you can use, I'm gonna add just a smidge of red and orange to one side just so they have that fall playfulness of a mixed color. That's great. And then I'm gonna go back with black. Oh, look at, I'm running out of the screen here. Sorry guys. I'm trying to really pay attention because I've got you guys super close this time. So a little bit of black, dingy it up a little. Not a lot, just a little. Okay, a little goes a long way. So that looks great. I've got all of my pieces ready and I'm gonna get a new sheet and we're gonna assemble it and we're gonna glitter glue and white paint. So here we go. Red flower, down, base layer, which is these flourishes, which I love a flourish. I'm gonna put a little, these, I actually use these on the leftover layout. I haven't finished that yet, so I'm not gonna tack them down too much. I'm gonna put another one in there. Oh, look at that. I'm gonna move that just because you guys can't even see. You guys can't even see what I got going on because I've got you so tight. All right, orange leaf, adhesive on it, and let's tuck it in. Love that layer. Green leaf. These are so pretty. I love a fall bouquet. Put that little seed pod, and then my orange flower. Let's see, here, there, I could put it anywhere. Where am I gonna do it? I'm gonna do it right there, I think. Okay, great. So now that we got that down, first off, I'm gonna fluff up my flowers and bend some of the edges. So I want you guys to see quickly, just give it some more dimension by handling each little piece and giving it a little crumple or ripple. Okay. I don't know, some of you will remember like when we used to crumple the leaves up and make them all messy. That's always a fun technique. So the same thing here, pick up your individual petals, give them some dimension. Not much, it's got to go into a book, but a little bit goes a long way. Let's go tack these down. Okay, I think that looks fabulous. So now I like to use my white paint first. So I'm going to open up my white paint and get my Q-tip out. There we go. And I'm going to start, I always like to start with my biggest piece, which is the orange one, or the red flower. So I've got paint on my Q-tip, and I'm going to start in the center with just some dotting. And then I dotted each one of these little little stem, oh Lord, I can't remember. Pick up more paint. And then, of course, we're going to do some highlighting on the edges. Oh, this stupid table's squeaky. Okay, that looks great. So then I did a little bit of white just in this flower area right there. I didn't do any on the green leaf. And then, of course, I do some in the inside of the orange. And then I also do the big leaf. And I did quite a bit. Got a little hair there. Let's try that again. Okay, and that looks pretty good to me. So I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna grab my yellow Sunburst Stickles, and then I'm gonna go real heavy. So I'm gonna cover this inside pretty much as soon as I can get some to come out. I'm gonna move my flower over, hopefully you can see. So I have a lot. I'm gonna dot each one of those stamen. I would never glitter glue on most things like this, but for the flowers, I like how that big, chunky, heavy glitter is. Now, if I was you, I would definitely wait for that white paint to dry. And if you don't wait, just be light-handed with it. Okay, that looks like enough on the flower for me. And then I did a little bit on that flower end of this seed pod and then a little in the inside. I did the center, and then I did some lines coming up on this one, just real heavy, real messy. Oh, you know what? I didn't do the white paint in these like oak leaves. So let's just backtrack for a second, because you are going to put white paint in the oak leaves for highlighting. Perfect. And now we're going to go back and finish glittering. So with the leaf, I did heavy on the veining. And then same thing for these leaves, heavy on the center where the veining is. And then a little bit on the outside of the big orange leaf. And that's it, ladies. That is everything that we're going to do for our November flowers. And they're pretty stunning. I love it.